guess this would be considered part 2, if you will, of Saturday. More like it's just a continuance of before. I was gonna talk about my grandpa. Well, he wasn't really my grandpa. He was one of my grandpa's friends. And he was one of those, redneck of the rednecks, He talked like this all the time, sitting there saying, well, God does this and God does that. God does everything. He sounded like one of those dudes that do the auctions, an auctioneer. He sounded like Boomhauer from King of the Hill. That's what it was. But I love talking to him. Even though we did not see eye to eye on anything, I love talking to the old man. Because he would sit there and every word out of his mouth had to have something to do with God in it. And I was like, where the hell are you from? He said, I come from Alabama. In Bama, we do everything according to the Bible. And I was like, have you ever read the book? Like, of course I read the book. I read some of them chapters down there, I read some of the John 3:16, some Genesis. Good band too, by the way. We just sit here, always doing this. Just sitting there, just trying to survive, We got a country boy can survive. I mean, this guy was like redneck of the redneck, okay? This guy he'd wear a white t-shirt like this. It was sweat stained like crazy. Wore work boots, and that was it. He had no other shoes. He just has work boots. And one of his things he would always do is he always wore overalls. And even if you bought him new overalls, he'd still wear his old ones. These things still got some room on them, I could still work with these. I mean, he's dead now, so I will name drop. Well, I don't know his actual name. We called him Old Ben. Just this old, fat, redneck dude, straw hat and all. Always, for some reason, there was never any wheat or anything around. He always had a wheat stem out of his mouth. If he didn't have one of those, he had a cigar or a pipe. He's always, just sitting there talking to him just cracked me up, man. Like I said, I'm from the South. I'm from Texas. You get me drunk, I'll start talking with a Southern drawl, just talking, man. And nobody understands me because they don't understand Southern drawls. That was me. That's still me when I drink too much. Or when I talk to my mom. Mom was born in Abilene. Not Kansas, Texas. The little blink and you'll miss a town. No, she's Abilene, Texan. She's a Texan of the Texans, man. And anyway, old Ben was just, he was a hoot, man. And that was actually his favorite thing to say. He's like, man, I was sitting there the other day over there sitting on the front porch in my rocking chair, watching the news. And I was like, TV's inside. He's like, yeah, well, I live. He's like, yeah, where I live, all I gotta do is look outside and I see America's Next Wanted. And you just lose your mind. This is the guy, if you've ever watched cartoons where you see, that old hillbilly out in a shack, that was this guy. He even had the shotgun sitting next to his door. Like, if someone come up to my door like them damn Bible boys, I'm gonna shoot somebody. It's like, dude, we're in Kansas. You can't shoot somebody for getting on your land. They don't have the Make My Day law like they do in Texas or, Abilene or Wyoming. Or not Abilene, like Texas or Oklahoma or Wyoming. Those are the 3 main states where the Make My Day law are enforced. For people who don't know what that is, if you have signs posted on your property saying, do not, trespassers will be shot, do not trespass, that is a warning. Then you give them one verbal warning. And as long as they're still facing you, you have legal right to shoot that person, no matter who it is. It can be an officer of the law. You have the right to shoot them. If they're on your property, you tell them to get off, and you have those signs, and they're still on your land, you have the right to shoot them. Anyway, he's just, like I said, he's over there, he's like, yeah, well, I'm just sitting here, wife's been gone for a while. I'm just sitting here enjoying nature, enjoying God. We're sitting here reading the good book. And, this is the kind of guy you would not expect this guy to be able to read. I learned most of my redneck isms, like my redneck words and everything, from this guy. Is, when I lived in the, like I said, when I grew up in the sticks, I wasn't very well educated. When we moved into the city, I had a plethora of books I could read. So my vocabulary heightened. I learned how to use better vocabulary. I mean, sometimes I do it as a joke to sound like a ding-dong. I say stupid shit. But this particular dude is where I learned, I was sitting on his front porch with him. I'd always go visit him. No, everybody else was freaked out by him. I just walked up to him and said, "Hey, how you doing? I'm Josh," whatever. And yeah, like I said, I'll say my name. I won't say anybody else's name. I'll try not to anyway. It's hard not to, especially when you're telling a story from the past. And old Ben's sitting there. He's in his rocker. He's like, "What you want?" He's like, "Just wanted to visit with you." He's like, "With you?" He's like, "Where are you from, boy?" And I was like, "I'm from South Texas." "What parts around there? I got a lot of family members down here." And that cracked me up right there too when he did that every time. And when I do my redneck impersonation, I am impersonating old Ben. That's who that is. That's the personality that I impersonate, because it's redneck to a T. It's the old hillbilly redneck. Well, if you want some moonshine, I got some back there. You want a beer, you can just sit out here on the front porch. I'm like, "Old Ben, I'm 13, I can't drink." He's like, "Who gives a shit? Go ahead and get yourself burr." He didn't say beer, he said burr. "And go get yourself burr. There's some tobacco in there if you want yourself a little roly smoky, but you gotta be careful. You don't want these little piggy piglets walking around getting in there, you know what I mean?" Like I said, everybody was freaked out by him because of the stuff he said. But the more I hung out with him, the more I talked to him, because, I visited him for a while. I think I was his only visitor. He loved when I came by. The guy never asked me to do a damn thing. We just sat on the front porch talking. And, I think that, and that part of my life was kind of what led me not to want to try suicide again. It was shortly after I tried to commit suicide. Seeing that a man who isn't very well educated, who really didn't have a lot of stuff, I was in his house. Guy didn't have jack shit. Son of a bitch. Anyway. What the living hell? Here it goes. Thought my car lighter was going out. Oh, sorry. My cell phone charger port. Anyway, you're just sitting there on the front porch, I'm sitting on the stairs. He's sitting there rocking back and forth in his chair. And sitting there smiling with like 3 teeth in his mouth. They're all brown and disgusting. It helped me appreciate life more. Because I'm like, if this guy can be happy, he literally doesn't have squat. Because at the time, I was just a normal kid. I was materialistic. Everything that was mine was mine. You can't have it, it's mine. This guy helped me open my eyes. He was I was like, "Well, you don't seem to have a lot." He's like, "Well, I got that pickup back there. It's got a flat tire. I ain't got much to do with it." And sit there and he'd light up a cigar or a cigarette. He'd be like, "Man, a lot of these people out here smoke that wacky tobacco. I don't smoke that wacky tobacco. It's against the Bible." And me, being me, I was like, "Oh God, here we go." But, I kept my comics to myself because I actually liked the dude. He never once asked me. I think that's what I liked about him so much. The most expensive thing he probably had in his house was a Bible and a cross. He had a crucifix on his wall. I mean, he had an old military cot, so obviously he was an ex-military man. And, I mean, you saw the American flag, he was very, very patriotic. But old Ben was just old Ben, man. We talked about a lot of stuff. He was like, and I was sitting there one day, and it was a chilly day. The first time I ever saw him have something else on besides his overalls, his t-shirt, and his boots. And his little weird-ass straw hat that he had. He actually had a coat on. And I was like, "Hey, old Ben, I didn't know you had a coat." He's like, "Well, how the hell else am I supposed to stay warm around here? It's cold, man." I'm just sitting there, just rocking away. And I'm like, where do you get your food from? He's like, oh, I grow my own. And I mean, this guy was huge. So you know he was not a vegetarian or a vegan. This guy ate meat. He's like, yeah, my brother owns a pig farm out there in Bama. He's always sending me money. I don't know why. I told him I don't need it. Now, I can do stuff right here and make some cash if I need to. You know, and the older he got, the slower his talking got to. No, he went from being all giggity and giggity to being, bad health. I went over there and he had an oxygen tank. Like, oh, Ben, you all right? He's like, I'm all right, boy. It's just problems, They said I had that fibromyalgia. That algae stuff is gonna kill you. He would smoke, cough, hit the oxygen tank. And it was a ritual, like smoke, cough, oxygen. Smoke, cough, oxygen. His favorite pack of smokes were Pall Malls. I think it was because it's the only one he could actually pronounce. He's like, yeah, you going to the store sometime today, boy? I said, Ben, you can call me Josh, man. I mean, you've known me for a year. He's like, I know it, but it's not respectful to call somebody by their name. I was like, compared to boy? He's like, well, from where I'm from, parents call their kids boy. You don't call them your son, you call them your boy. I looked at him, I was like, you look at me as your kid? He's like, well, who the hell else is coming over here? All right, Uncle. I was like, all right. He's like, you can call me Uncle Ben. I was like, everybody else calls you Old Ben. He's like, well, I ain't that old. I'm the bright age of 63. And running through my head was like, that's fucking old. But he was a spry old man, When he did get up, he moved. He was pretty quick for a big guy. And I never learned a lot about him. He would talk about, the wars and stuff like that. He said he was in the Cold War. He'd talk about how he barely dodged a draft because he wasn't old enough, but his older brother went, and his older brother's been crazy ever since. He was a good man. Old Ben, Uncle Ben, whatever you want to call him. He was a really cool cat. After he died, it sucked. I think I was the only one who went to his funeral. In fact, I know I was the only one who went to his funeral. Like, does anybody, the preacher was like, is there anybody else here? I helped the guy write his will. He was like, I can't spell too good and I can't see very well. Can you write my will for me? Just randomly popped off like that. A kid he barely knows. He asked me to write his will for him. So I wrote his will. And his will, it was the simplest thing he ever had. He had a lawyer there and everything. He was like, this is all I want to say in my own words. Well, he's writing them, but I'm saying them. The lawyer was like, all right, Ben. Actually, call him Benjamin. All right, Benjamin. And he was like, all right, what would you like to say? He was a Southern guy, too. Apparently, he was like a family friend. Ben was like, well... He's like, now remember to dictate this as good as you could. And I was like, ow. As good as you can. Ow. All right. I'll do it. And I was sitting there, I was writing away, and he was like, well, I want to leave everything to my daughter. I think she lives in Bama somewhere with my cousins. If you guys can find her name's Mary Lou. And the first thing that ran through my head is, of course, her name's fucking Mary Lou. It's like Mary Lou, Mary Sue, Mary Jane, those are just like redneck names, man. He was like, yeah, my wife, and he would trail off. This is how he knew he was getting to that time. He would trail off into some random thing. He's like, well, I'm going to leave everything to my daughter, Mary Lou. Yeah, my wife and I, we divorced back in 84. I haven't seen her since, haven't even spoke a word to her. And the lawyer was, surprisingly, most lawyers are kind of dicks. This guy was actually really nice. He was like, well, Benjamin, we gotta keep this going now. And Ben was like, oh, what? Oh, sorry, I was remembering again. Well, I leave everything to my daughter. And for the house, you know, I own it. You know, I bought this house back in '85. You know, the truck can go to my cousin Benny. I got my. He's like, oh shit, what about my cousin Joe? I was like, wait, you have a cousin Benny too? He's like, yeah. He's like, I was the firstborn, and he did the whole, you know, like I'm better. You know, I was firstborn. You know, his parents were mad because I was born earlier than he was by a month, so they named us both Benjamin. He said, but everybody called me Benjamin, and they call him Benny. I was like, I was called you old Ben. He's like, and you can keep calling me that, boy. I was like, all right, Ben. I was like, oh, all right, old man, let's keep going. Well, my truck out back, hasn't ran in a couple of years, so yeah, I'll give that to Benny. He'll really appreciate that. He's always wanting that old piece of beastie. That's what he called it, the piece of beastie. He even, in the worst spelling I've ever seen, he didn't know how to spell peace, so he just drew a peace symbol with an O with a comma, and beastie, Beesty. Piece of beastie. I was like, whoa, all right. It was this nasty green, yellow, just trash truck. I mean, it would be a nice truck if he would have taken care of it, but he clearly did not take care of it. You know, the tires were all completely bald. There was rust all over the truck. The steering wheel was jammed. You know, I mean, it was junk. But, you know, he left it all to his family. He looked over at me. He was like, well, hey. He's like, I got this Zippo back in my trunk back in my house. Hey, Josh, you want that? And I was like, sure. I didn't know what a Zippo was at the time. It was just another lighter to me. Damn thing was a World War I lighter. You know, like I said, he was basically like a grandpa to me. And so when I refer to my grandpa, he's usually what I'm referring to. You know, he lived out in the boondocks. You know, it took me an hour and a half to walk to his house, but I was more than willing to do it. You know, I'd always bring him some water or bring him some kind of food or something. He would always bitch about it, but he'd always eat it. You know, what was it? I think it was the 4th of July. Yeah, on the 4th of July one year, my family was out doing something. You know, I snuck away. I went and got some KFC, and I had a car at the time. Well, it wasn't mine, but I was borrowing it. I had a car at the time, so I went and got a big old bucket of chicken. And I drove out to his house and put it on his doorstep with a letter on it. Knocked on his door, and before I even turned around, he was like, "What the hell you doing, boy? You know, what you doing over here? He's like, it is 4th of July. You should be blowing shit up." I was like, well, you don't have a lot of stuff around here, so I figured I'd bring you some food for 4th of July. He looked down and he's like, hee hee, you brought me some fried chicken. You know me too well, boy. I just, funny dude, man. I was meaning to just drop it off and go. You know, the note was a nice note. It was like, you know, I don't really remember the words. Something along the lines, you know, I appreciate you, man. You know, you're a really cool dude. You know, I saw the depression in him. You know, when you have a depression in you, you see it. You can see people's depression. You know, you're not blinded by your own. You can see it all around you. And he was depressed. He didn't show it very much, but he was depressed. You know, he was old and alone. Anyway, he tried to give me his pipe, but I was like, no, I'm good. You know, it was an old corncob pipe. And I've had this pipe for 20 odd years now. And I think it's about time I give it up. And he just looked at me, pulled it out of his overalls pocket and tossed it to me. And I was like, well, what the hell is this? He's like, well, it's about time when a youngin' learned how to smoke like a real man. You know, boys smoke cigarettes. You know, men smoke cigars. Real men smoke pipe. And I think that's what actually got me smoking pipe. Like, I actually have a tobacco pipe laying right here on my door. But, he's a funny old man. He was a great dude too. But yeah, the Zippo he gave me, fuck, I wish I would have kept that damn thing. Well, I wish it would have went up in the fire. Like I said, I was telling an old boy at a gas station earlier, I used to collect Zippos. You know, I had a trunk. It was about that by that. So what? Say about 6 inches by probably 2 feet. It was a pretty decent size, and the damn thing had Zippos in it. There was a bayonet. It said World War I bayonet, and it was one of the old ones that were built like that. It was I forgot what they called those, but anyway, it was supposed to be World War One. You know, there were daggers in there, action figures. You know, I kept everything in there. And first fire we had when I was a kid all went up in flames. Shit sucked. And the funny thing is, of all the things that I remember out of that box, the only thing I can remember is that damn Zippo. Because you had to open it a certain way or the lid would fly the hell off. No matter how much I tried to fix this damn thing, I even tried tack welding the damn thing back on there. Every time you flipped that Zippo lid, it would go poof and just fly off. You know, it's great for kids. You know, you could flip that damn thing off and everybody try to go find it. But, another idiot listening to crap music. Anyway. Again, that's just another rant. You know. Things that go through my noggin. You know, memories, if you will. And I got a lot of stories, man. You know, I may only be 30 years old, but I've been around, man. I've met a lot of people. Some people I don't remember. You know it's bad when you run into somebody that you knew in 3rd freaking grade and they still remember you. I had no idea who this chick was, but she knew exactly who I was. I was like, how the fuck do you know me? And she was like, well, you never changed. She's like, see you, Josh. I was like, wait, what's your name? She's like, you'll find out. I was like, what the fuck's that supposed to mean? I still don't remember the girl's name. That was 5 years ago. Actually, it was a lot longer than that. It was like 6 or 7 years ago. 9 years ago. It was 9 years ago. It was before me and my wife met. I mean, I'm just like, still to this day, I can't remember the chick's name, okay? She remembers my name. She remembers what classes we had together and everything. I was like, were you in love with me or something? She was like, no. I was like, oh, God, another crush. You know, at the time, I was enjoying my single life. And I was, for lack of better words, I was a hoe. You know, I didn't care. I just swinging ding-a-linging. You know, I did not give a damn. And you know, I was depressed. What can I say? Had a nice body, though, you know. Fuck, I was trying to join the military. Had 6-pack abs, you know. I was like 9% body fat. You know, I was healthy, man. And everybody's like, well, why don't you go back to it? A couple reasons. One, like I said before, I looked at anything that I like to eat like it was porn. You know, it was like taboo for me. If I looked at it, I gained 5 pounds. 2, I was running 10 miles a day. My fat ass ain't getting up for that. You know, I just went and bought a bag of beef jerky, okay? No, I ain't getting up for that. And 3, I was only eating lean food. You know, grilled chicken and vegetables, drinking nothing but water. I'll take you through just one day of what I was doing every day. I'd run 5 miles to this place called the 101 Club. It's up north of Wichita, like north of Valley Center. It's an Alcoholics Anonymous retreat. Like, people who know me from my past videos, my dad is a recovering alcoholic. So, I'd go there. I'd volunteer there and everything. I would run up there. It's 5 miles. I would swim 10 miles. Or I'd swim 3 miles, and then I'd run the 5 miles back. In that time, I'd only eat a protein bar and drink like 3 or 4 bottles of water. That was it. When I'd come home, I would have nothing but lean foods. I'd have grilled chicken, and trust me, you can get tired of grilled chicken. It was so bad, I could not even stand the smell of it after the first month. But I kept going at it. You know, I'd go to my grandma's house because, like I said, my grandma's house had the workout equipment. They had this thing, it's called an ab lounge. I don't know what they call it anymore, but what you do is you hang it up on the door frame. It's got these handles right here, and they used to have these straps that go underneath your arms. They don't sell those with it anymore. And you do leg ups with it. And, you know, now there's no way in hell I could do pull-ups. But when I was trying the military thing, I was going up like this, going down, coming back behind my head, and going side to side. And then doing O's. From behind, then coming down, going up, and doing the same thing in the front. Now, I was very, very, very lean. And I would do it every day. And if I wasn't doing those, I'd flip it down, put it on the ground, and I'd do push-ups. You know, I had no life. My life was trying to join the military. My life was working out. I didn't have a life. That's why I was like that. You know, it was either dedicate myself to trying to become a military person or be like everybody else in a certain part of my family that do nothing but drugs and drink all the time. And I wasn't going to go down that road. So I decided to better myself. Like I said, I loved the way I looked. The girls around me loved the way I looked. But I hated myself. Because I was beating myself up because I was trying to avoid what was going on in my head. I was doing anything I could to distract myself from what was going on up here. Because I could not take it. That's why I looked like that. And don't get me wrong, I wish I was still lean. And I know I could do it if I put my mind to it. But my ass ain't put my mind to it. You know, back then I was going to get paid to be a muscle-bound ding-dong shooting a gun. Now, I get paid to work on machines all day, man. You know, I have a wonderful, beautiful wife who takes care of me, my kids, which when I call my kids, I mean my dogs and my cats. Which I can't stand the cats. Those are her fucking kids. Dogs are mine. You know, she's an amazing woman. Drives me absolutely fucking nuts sometimes. But she's an amazing woman. And I will honestly admit, it took me a while to realize that. It took me about 5 years. It's when I finally realized, you know, maybe this girl could, for lack of better words, be the one. You know, you know, when I lost my job, she didn't bounce. She stuck with me. Man, this shirt's very white. It makes my teeth look yellow. Eesh. Anyway, you know, she was there for me, man. She was there when I found out my mom had cancer. You know, she got rid of it, but you know, found out my mom had a certain type of cancer, and she was there for me. You know, it was the first time I broke down in front of a female besides my mother. And, of course, my sister. You know, it was the first time I just lost it. Because if you get anything from these videos, you can honestly tell my mama's boy. You know, my mom raised me. My mom taught me how to be a man to the best of her abilities. You know, my mom is everything to me. And my mom likes my wife. Which scares the ever-living hell out of me. Because I've never had a girl in my life that my mom liked. She likes her. Absolutely loves her. You know, when I call my mom, the first thing she asks, how's your wife? Well, she didn't say wife, she says her name, but I'm not going to say her name. How's your wife? I'm like, well, I'm fine, thanks mom, thanks for asking. I mean, it's so bad, I call my mom, she won't answer. My wife calls my mom, she'll answer. I'm like, that bitch, why? I'm your son, I slid out of you, man. Why? But, I mean, I look back at it, and I'm happy about it. You know, my mom and my wife love each other. She calls my mom, Mom. My mom calls her daughter. She doesn't even say her name anymore. She says, how's my daughter? It's fine, as far as I know. She's at work. You know, I mean, they get along great. I mean, they're two completely different people. You know, my wife is very secluded, if you will. Of course, she gets that from her family. You know, my family's always been more outspoken. So, if you meet anybody in my family, you'll know we're family. Anybody in my bloodline. Like my mother, my father, my sister. Even my little brother, John. Oh, well, I just said his name. Oh, well. Whatever. We're all very outgoing, very outspoken people. You know, we don't care, really. We'll just say what's on the top of our heads. Well, I'm worse than they are, because I am a big advocate of actual free speech, not this mumbo jumbo fucking bullshit they're doing today. But yeah. We're very outspoken people. My wife, on the other hand, not too much. She's a very quiet person. She is my exact opposite, because I am not quiet whatsoever. But, I think that's what it is, She calms me down, because once I get going, it's hard for me to stop. I'll just keep going and going and going and going and going, especially if I'm on a roll when it comes to jokes. I will just fling them everywhere. And I don't care who's there, who the target is, I will get you with a joke. If you open yourself up with a joke, I get you. That's how I've always been. Everybody's like, oh, well, you can't be serious. I can, but life's too short to be serious. You barely have 100 years. Why screw that up by being all serious all the time? No. Live a little, man. Kick back and relax. You don't need to be a stiff-necked asshole. It's not like anybody's going to care for you if you're a dick all the time. You got to be nice, man. You got to have fun. People don't understand what fun is, People in today's society are like, oh, I have fun. Yeah, having fun for you is sitting back and drinking and smoking with your bros. I say smoking, I mean smoking weed. That's not fun, that's stupid. Because like I said, the weed of today makes you retarded. But this is another video that was only supposed to be a few minutes long. This has gone for 32 minutes now. I'm going to get off here. I won't get on any more until tomorrow. Scout Yonder, man. Anyway, y'all have a good day.